Hi, today I'm going to teach you how to make bread with stoichiometry.
Well, what is stoichiometry? Stoichiometry is a relationship between reactants and products in a chemical equation.
This is the recipe I used. But what if I wanted to make it with 2 tablespoons of salt instead of only 1? How much canola oil would I need?
Well, the original recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of salt for every 2 tablespoons of canola oil. That would make the ratio 1 to 2. For 2 tablespoons of salt, you have to figure out how much canola oil you need. This would make the ratio 2 to x. So since you're doubling up on the amount of salt you're using, you also need to double up on the amount of canola oil you use. So 2 tablespoons of canola oil times 2 is 4 tablespoons of canola oil. That is just one of the ways you can use stoichiometry with bread making. But I actually did make bread, so I'm just going to show you how I did that. First, I poured 2 1/4 cups of warm water into a large bowl. After that, I added a packet of dry activated yeast. Then I added 1 tablespoon of sugar. As you can see, I have never made bread before. And then I just added the rest of my sugar, which is 2 tablespoons. Then added 1 tablespoon of salt because I did not alter the recipe in any way. Also added the canola oil, but I did not record it, and after that I just mixed it all up. Then I measured 3 cups of flour and put it all in. And after that I just started mixing. Once it got to a certain consistency, I was supposed to knead out the dough. Then place it in a greased bowl and flip it over a few times so the grease got on both sides.
Here I'm covering the bowl with a wet cloth to allow the dough to rise. Yeast feeds on glucose and turns it into energy and carbon dioxide, which allows for the bread to rise.
You know what? Wow, look at that. You just made bread. Wow. One way bread factories maximize the yield of bread is by making large amounts of dough by using a recipe and multiplying it by the tons. Another way factories maximize the yield is by using large machinery to quickly produce large amounts of bread. One way that factories minimize waste is by adding preservatives. Bread can't go bad if they're preserved well. Some preservatives used are calcium propionate, sulfur dioxide, or even garlic. They also minimize waste by taking precise measurements of the ingredients used, so the finished product is successfully made. An economic benefit to bread is that it is cheap and supplies a good amount of nutrients if it is whole grain. A social benefit to eating bread is that whole grain bread is low in fat and high in carbohydrates and grains. An environmental benefit to bread is that it doesn't leave as much of a carbon footprint as it does producing livestock. But it does leave a pretty significant carbon footprint. An economic risk for mass-producing bread is that smaller businesses would have a harder time to function due to the convenience of cheap factory-produced bread. The social risk factor that comes along with eating bread is that bread made with refined wheat could cause health effects such as heart disease and type 2 diabetes. An economic risk factor is that people might feed ducks bread. Feeding bread to ducks can lead to physical problems such as a deformity known as angel wing, which prevents ducks from flying. Uneaten bread could also attract many other animals such as predators, or the uneaten bread could grow mold, which an animal might eat and get sick from. One way industries reduce the risk factors of making bread is by creating different types of bread that, if eaten, could be beneficial instead of detrimental to your health, such as Ezekiel bread, which is bread with no added sugar and made 100% with whole grain. Another way industries reduce the risk factors of bread is by thinking of new ways to produce less of a carbon footprint, such as using substitutes to fertilizer or different types of fertilizer.